You're listening to the Ones Ready podcast, a team of Air Force Special Operators forged in combat with over 70 years of combined operational experience, as well as a decade of selection instructor experience. If you're tired of settling and you want to do something you truly believe in, you're in the right place. Now here's your host, former Prep Course Ops Superintendent and current Special Reconnaissance Training Guru, Trent Segmiller.
I know Aaron always likes to talk about the claps, and from my perspective, that one was garbage. So you're in the team room here with Peaches and Trent, and based on the clap, this is going to be a hot mess, maybe a dumpster fire. We'll see how it goes. Chief is going to pull it out in the end, but I'm just here along for the ride. Welcome back to another Ones Ready podcast. It's just the two of us. As always, thanks, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Visit the website, buy our merch. You're going to love it. Christmas is coming, and I can't think of a better gift to get someone besides Ones Ready merchandise. There are some other options, so you can see over my shoulder, because you're going to watch YouTube and you're going to subscribe, my Eberly stock bags that I love more than anything. But there's also, Cardomax, Atarex pomade, and all that other kind of stuff. Fun fact, Aaron only has to put Atarex pomade in his hair once because it's a hairpiece and it's not real. So there you go. You heard it here first. Aaron's actually bald.
Hot take.
So today, I just want to sit down with Peaches. We're just going to, see what happens and ask some questions of each other and get to know each other a little bit better, which is weird to say after 2 years of doing the podcast. But, it's a funny thing about the community. I feel like I know you guys really well, but also, we've only met in person once and we've never really worked together. So it's kind of a weird thing. So my first question to start off is, did you feel your soul leaving your body when you pinned on Chief? Is that something that you felt?
We're just going right in. First off, we started off with a terrible clap, and there's only two of us, so there's really no reason why we should have messed up a clap.
No.
And then, you just breezed right over Aaron's hairpiece.
People don't know that? I thought that was pretty common knowledge.
Yeah.
No?
Did I feel my soul leaving my body? No, I didn't, but actually I also was not issued a thing to be upset about. Your sergeant majors, your chiefs and stuff like that. Usually it's, haircuts, sideburns, uniform infractions, something like that. If they do issue it to you, I haven't been issued it yet. So I'm still trying to figure out what my pet peeve is going to be. Maybe it's just random people that happen to spout a bunch of BS on a podcast. Maybe, I don't know.
Is that
hammering people,
self-loathing?
Hammering people's social media. I don't know. I don't know yet.
It should be the parking spaces at the BX that are reserved for certain ranks. You should inspect, make sure everybody's the correct rank to park in those things.
I had a chief roll on. I was senior airman at the time. I had a chief roll in on me because, and this is at Mildenhall, he thought that I had parked in a chief spot, and what it actually was you had several spots for 06 chief, and then the next one was Airman of the Year or something like that. And I parked in that one, and he thought that it was a chief one, and he got out, decided to try and berate me a little bit, and I was like, well, if I am, I'm sorry, but right there it says Airman of the Year. And then, do you think I got an apology though?
No. Did you knife hand him back? I'm the Airman of the Year.
So I actually hadn't learned the knife hand at that point. Now that one may have been issued to me.
Right. You get the knife hand. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's funny. It really is though. Some people do have pet peeves. I don't have any yet. So we'll work on it. How about you? How about usually for people who don't know that. The stereotype is that when there are E8s or seniors that want to make chief, they become assholes, really. They are not nice people, right? So I'm curious, which way have you gone? Have you gone super, super chill, or have you gone, you know what, I'm going to make chief, and this is how I make chief?
No, I was actually talking to my wife about this the other day. I was like, I remember seniors when I was, like a E4, E3, being crusty, kind of scary people. When they made chief, there was this weird thing. Chiefs are either super nice or whatever. But seniors were kind of beyond master, but they're those people, like you said.
Yep.
But like I was like, maybe because I was texting with one of my staff sergeants out at Pope, and I'm just like, hey bro, what's going on? Like I just wanted an update on something. But like that's just how I am. I'm not going to change who I am because of the number of stripes on my sleeve or my chest or wherever we're putting stripes these days. And I don't know, like because I asked my wife about it. I'm like, am I too like personable with people that I outrank? Like I'm not going to change, but it doesn't vibe with a lot of the experiences I had when I was younger. It does vibe with a few of them, but not with the majority, I guess is what I'd say.
But like, okay, so what you just said brings up a good point. Outranking people. Like, that's, and this is just me talking. I know that there's publications and stuff like that use that term or whatever, but I mean, what does it mean to outrank somebody? Like that it's kind of it makes it seem like it's a class system, which I'm not a fan of, right? Because in reality, or at least the way that I view it through my lens, is take the squadron that I'm at right now. Some people would think that all of the, everybody in that squadron worked for me. And I completely disagree with that. Like, I don't believe in that at all. If anything, I work for every single person. I work for them. Like, that they are the ones that are doing the work. I am there to make sure that they're taken care of. I'm there to make sure that their needs are being met, that their family's taken care of, that they're hopefully getting the assignment that they want. That doesn't always happen.
It's hard.
And to think about that I actually have influence on that. Like, I've got very little influence on it, but I work hard to try and make sure that happens. But like, it's just a weird thing that, old school military, that was the way it was. I outranked you. I'm all knowing. I'm whatever. But man, the reality of it is that, last December I put on chief. I didn't. There was no course. There wasn't a freaking, okay, now you know it, and now you have it on. Now you know all these processes and programs, and now people are working for you. That is not true. That is, and I hate to say it, but if you think that all these people work for you, they don't, and you should probably move on and retire.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know.
That was a very random rant.
No, I think rank does have some privileges, and I think it's an indication of maybe how long you've been in or your experiences or where you're at in your career. And if I walk into a room full of airmen, it's nice that, I can say what I want or whatever. Like I'm comfortable doing what I want to do, but I'm not going to talk to them like I'm a better person than they are. Like I don't know anything. And then, like you said, it's a level of responsibility. And with like the assignments thing, it's my job to make sure that, to the best of my ability, people get what they need and what they want and all that other stuff. So, I don't know.
Especially you in your position.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's one thing for me, but I mean, let's be real, you have more influence on where people go than I do. And it's a art balance, right? Between what's best for the person and their family, what's best for their career and their professional development, and then what's best for the Air Force.
Well, yeah, and I think that's sometimes where we get the disconnect with, maybe our NCO Corps or like E4 types is at a certain level, it's not that people don't care about you as a person. They probably do, but it's just math. I have to have certain numbers of people at certain bases, and, you get what you get. And it's really hard sometimes because someone, like this one guy, I remember we gave him an assignment that he didn't really care for. And then a guy got orders like 3 months later to the place that he wanted to go. And he's just like, well, how does this work? And he was a little upset about it. And, like he called me and he was ranting. But I'm like, man, that's just like how the timing and the math lined up, and you get your assignment months and months. This is like a really boring conversation for people that
we are going to move on from assignments, I promise.
Anyway, yeah, it's just a level of responsibility is all rank is. And there are some privileges, right? Like your office hours, but like you police yourself. Like your office hours can be nice, or if something has to get done, you got a lot of people that you got to take care of, and sometimes, like I know you burn the midnight oil on a pretty regular basis.
No, I try not to.
The 8 o'clock at night oil. I don't know.
No, if I'm under the I go with the, hey, if it's not urgent and somebody's not dying and it can wait until tomorrow, it'll be there tomorrow. So I do that. But that's me. There are, of course, there are going to be times where you've got to do it, but whatever. But something that you brought up before we even hopped on, which I think that most people would be more interested in than assignments.
What?
And
I'm sorry, I'll stop saying what.
I know. Is that we've kind of come full circle a little bit with the.
Hey, Trent here. Sorry for interrupting this video, but I just wanted to cover something real quick. There are times when I say stuff and I get a little bit ahead of my skis. All right, so if we're talking about the prep course and some of the new naming conventions that are possible, I may hear things and then they might get stuck in this brain of mine. And then I will say something on a podcast that maybe I'm not supposed to say or something that hasn't happened yet. So I just wanted to come on here and let you know that the name of the first course that you go to in the pipeline post BMT could change, but it doesn't really matter that much. And to ignore any of the naming conventions that I use in this video or disregard them until they become the real name of the course. So for now, it's still the prep course, as far as I know. And you will get what we've always talked about. The content of that course hasn't changed at all. But I do get excited about things sometimes, and then I say stupid words out of my stupid mouth that maybe I shouldn't. So we pride ourselves on accuracy here on the Ones Ready podcast. So Aaron was looking at the video, and he yelled at me and said I had to come on here and apologize. So I'm doing so. Thanks for listening, and now back to your regularly scheduled podcast. Bye.
Whole Indoc / SWICK thing. And I'm pretty sure you've got some hot takes on that. Like, I'm only here to tell stories about Indoc, but you've got details on Indoc versus SWICK.
Kind of. I mean, it's so for everybody that knows, doesn't know what we're talking about, the prep course, the old SW prep course is now called the Special Warfare Indoctrination course. And if you don't know, Indoc was an institution for pararescue and then combat control going further back for a very long time. And from my perspective, there was always a thing where I remember I worked with a combat controller and, he'd always talk about Indoc. And there was like a break between the Indoc guys and then the selection course and CCS being the real grind later on guys. So like it held a special place in your heart, all that shared misery type of experience that y'all went through at Indoc. And so when it came back, I'm not blind. I see stuff on social media. I know that when Indoc initially went away, there was a little bit of a backlash. And it is interesting to see it come back. And even though it's replacing the prep course, and so there's a lot of questions, right? Like, is it appropriate to name it Indoc? I think those are the questions that are out there. I'm not asking for the group commander. This is not me asking this question. I'm just saying these are things I've seen. Please don't murder me.
TX, don't get upset about this.
we're just talking here. I'm just talking. Getting myself in trouble. But you know what I mean? But it brings back a lot of stuff from history. And so I wanted to get your take on it. Really is when Indoc, the name Indoc came back. What was your reaction, or have you talked to any of your peers out there? Does everybody move on from that, or is it like a thing where people are kind of like upset about it?
Okay, well, so there's a lot to unpack just in that question. One is, I think a lot of the listeners would be surprised in how little guys on team know about the pipeline now. Like, you would think that once you're at a squadron, you're on a team, you're like, because we are such a small community, that you would be well versed in what's happening in the pipeline, and that's not the case at all, because you're so focused on all the operational stuff, making sure that you're current and proficient in all of the skills that you have, and then you're deploying and training and attaching to people and all that kind of stuff. So like your bandwidth, and then obviously you got a family and all that kind of stuff. So your bandwidth's very limited, and you're like, hey man, I've graduated from that. I've moved on. I don't really care what's going on. It's not that you don't care what's going on there. There's just not enough time and knowledge. And you'll be surprised, not much escapes that place, because we do try and keep it kind of quiet. What's, all the details. Like, yeah, okay, we talk about it on a podcast and Instagram, but do we think about it? Do we really tell you all the nitty gritty details of what goes on? I don't think so. So there's that. So the guys don't really know. So they don't, they're probably, a lot of them are probably not even aware of this name change. What's in a name? Okay, words mean things, but is it really a big deal? I don't know. What's funny to me though is that, so history lesson, I can't remember when pararescue and combat control combined to go through Indoc, but I can tell you that when I went through in 99, it was Indoc, and at that time we had a prep course. So in the prep course was anybody that had either recycled or rolled back due to injury or failure or failure of an eval, or since basic training would graduate every week, they would run Indoc every 10 weeks. So, what are those guys going to do that they wouldn't just be sitting around. So they created a prep team. So you had, I think he was a tech sergeant at the time, Jerry Souls, that started a prep team, and all these guys, and he would, we were essentially doing Indoc through prep, kind of like how they were doing before. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, all this is the same. It's just now it's 2021 versus 1999. So while those guys are going through Indoc, we're also going through prep course. And then those guys would graduate, Indoc course would start, and all those guys from prep team would roll right into Indoc and start from scratch, go through Hell Week and go through all the evals, which was huge because the graduation rate from that was significant. I say that, but I guess that would probably be false because we weren't graduating very many people at all. Like, my Indoc team was one PJ.
Jeez.
Yeah, one PJ. And I think one or two classes after that was no graduates at all. So we weren't really graduating. But I don't know. A lot's changed, but a lot is also the same, which is so it's funny. It's not just a name change. It's we've gone back in several ways to what it used to be.
Right. I know there's like some famous pictures on the walls. I think it's at CCS of the single graduate, the pipeline of one type things. Yeah, but I'll tell you, ATC does not like it when we graduate 0 people from a course. It doesn't. We get in big trouble, which I think is one of the reasons why now. So, like, even though it's the same, I think instead of just a tech sergeant, and he could have been, the best PJ or combat controller on earth, running the preparatory course for the Indoc. It's a little bit different now. The resources, the amount of money and the talent that we bring in there to make sure that people have all the tools to be successful, we've gone above and beyond. So I think, like you're saying, it's the same, but we're trying to make this better, and we're trying to make sure that the candidates that have what it takes between the ears are physically prepared, and get them out of basic training and get used to the Air Force a little bit before we, go. Full send on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you're right. We are training and selecting smarter than we used to. Like, there wasn't developers at the time. There wasn't special operations recruiters. It was, here's a trifold pamphlet, or if you're lucky, there's the VHS tape with the tube TV tied to the cart, strapped down to the cart. That's what you had to go with, and you knew what the pass test was.
Dude, they still have the trifolds for pararescue.
Yes.
I was over at AFRS a few weeks ago. Weird that this is the only one I could find. I think they had a SEER one as well, but pararescue and SEER, but nothing for us. I was a little hurt. AFRS, just throwing it out there.
Not putting you on the spot at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so completely lost where I was going, but it's with the developer, special operations recruiter, we knew what we had to do with the past, and then you went in and basic training you were in with the rest of the people. There was no special attention or anything like that. So a lot of the gains that you had made before going in, you had lost. You definitely lost a lot of weight because we weren't eating nearly enough at basic, at least me anyway. So, and then when he came out, and that's what's wild. If you came out of basic training and Indoc started the next week, you didn't get to really go to prep. You're just going right in. So it was definitely, a survival mode. And, people still made it, but it was definitely survival mode. Whereas now we're definitely doing it a lot smarter. Instead of expecting people to just survive, it's not like people in some parts of the country just have, a lot of access to pools. So now you have opportunities, and which is great. And it's smarter training, it's smarter selection. And now we're rolling in the psych test and all that kind of stuff into it. So it's just a lot better now.
Yeah, I will say as we talk about all this, because I get a lot of questions. If you're someone out there that's thinking about joining, don't overthink all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, don't, because I get a lot of questions like, hey, like, what's the psych and all this other, like, very specific things. And it's like, just start the process. The process will take care of you as long as you have the willingness to do the job. And your job, as soon as you join, is to do what we tell you to do and to perform these tasks for a while. And it gets better after, you get through A&S and then you go to pre-dive and dive. And I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about that because, like we're always like, hey, A&S is like a kind of a rough experience. But as you went through Indoc, and I think we've touched on this before, there had to be some good times, whether it was like good with the misery, and you know what I mean, like kind of like that the humor through pain thing.
Oh yeah.
And then pre-dive and dive, because like everybody's like, oh, like dive is super hard, but it's like there had to be some good times.
Yeah, you could talk about underwater hockey. You could talk about doing sharks and minnows and that kind of stuff. Like there were times where it was like, okay, well, we would get rewarded. You're still working, but it's not a it's not a graded event. It's not an event where somebody would quit. But I tell you what, you're still staying underwater for a long time. You're being competitive. You're being aggressive. Funny time. So things, stupid and silly things happen, and hilarious things happen during the suck. Cadre, whether they're making you do something that's for their own amusement, that's fine because it still sucks for you. But at the same time, you can, if you start thinking about it, it'll become funny to you, and then the team that's going through, you guys make fun of it, or you instead of looking at it like, oh man, we're just getting hammered, we're getting smoked, this is BS. Like, just have fun with it because you're not getting out of it, so you may as well get into it, right? It was just, oh man, but there were some bad times. Like I remember one of the things is Tony Alexander made us do this one time. And this is at, I don't know, 2 a.m, our second or third pool session of the day. So pool sessions are 4 hours. As everybody, if you're not aware, pool sessions are generally 4 hours. And this is our our second or third that day. So he would put these not pipes, but like PVC pipes at each corner of the pool. So you have, 25-meter pool, whatever it is, in the corner. And you are not allowed to surface anywhere outside of that. You got the corner of the pool and then the bar that goes across. Yeah. So when you have 30 people in the pool, and when he says go, you go subsurface and you don't pop. And the only place you can pop are in those corners. I distinctly remember that, and that was terrible.
Jeez. Just lining up on a corner, subsurface, just waiting.
Well, yeah, everybody's just like kind of with tadpoles or something like that, where everybody's just kind of like just enough to hear, and it is, you can definitely hear it, one's ready, go, and everybody's under, and we lost some people that morning.
Yeah, that's rough. But that's teamwork and mental fortitude and all that other stuff. I'm not saying that that's anything that we would do now from our instructors, but you're right though. That's less legitimate teamwork, right? What? So if for the listeners out there, what does that have anything to do with teamwork? Well, if you're suffering, right? You need air, but your buddy also needs air, and there's no room. You better help him out. You create some space.
Like, you have to. You can't just be all about me like, oh, finally, I got air. Yeah, well, there's other people that are coming in trying to get air too. So move,
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's good stuff because, when you start tying that stuff to the operational world, I know when you're getting hoisted by a 53 or whatever, and you all are there in the
Bring it
little
back old
zone,
school.
you can't have people looking out for number one only. Because if they're thrashing and pushing people down, you can't see anything anyway, and there's that wire in the water. It gets dangerous. So, like, people, I think if you lose sight of the reason, like, we're doing stuff and being able to keep your cool and think about others and maintain the teamwork during these situations, people are going to lose arms or whatever, and or they get outside the whatever it is, the wash, and they're not making it back in, and you fail as a team to, get that training done. So it all ties to something, and it might seem silly at the time or stupid or cruel even, but there's no one that makes it to the other side and goes, yeah, none of that made sense. Like, you looking back, you're probably like, yeah, it all kind of paid off. At least most of it.
I mean, yeah, you've done water jumps before, or been to the rotor wash of a 20 CV22 or a 47 or something like that. I mean, the 53s they weren't that bad, but the 47s and 22s can be bad, and so that's what buddy breathing has to do with, as well as diving, because you can run out of air, or your air supply can get fouled underwater, and now you're out, and you need to hit your buddy up and not freak out underwater, because if you freak out, you will definitely get hurt or die. And then if you guys are in a structure or something like that underwater, well, now your buddy might die too. So everything that we did, yeah, I would argue every single thing we did tied to operational needs, even if it's just stress inoculation, which is huge. I mean, I'm sure you've been on a water jump. Have you been on any water jumps that happen to have like an undercurrent at all?
I don't think anything too bad. We did a water jump with the Rucks one time, and the winds were like 25 knots. That was pretty gnarly. Did I ever tell you about that? We're looking out the window. So we went up to Shark DZ up off the coast of North Carolina, and we're looking out the window. We can see whitecaps, and whoever had the Kestrel on the ground, like, it's one of those situations where the jump is gonna happen no matter what. You can see the whitecaps out there, and then they're telling us like the wind is like 5 knots. And we decided to jump equipment because somebody decided it was a great idea. It was personal rucks. So, we all come out the plane, and we fall pretty fast, and you drop your ruck. And so as soon as your ruck hits the water and creates that drag, you just get slammed into the water. It was just like an immediate whoa. And like, I remember, you have your fins tied off to your leg. We didn't jump with our fins on. My 80-pound test snaps right away. Like, and you're just popping everything as fast as you can, and your chute inflates. So there's a bunch of dudes like flying all over the place. I was riding my ruck. Like, I ended up just following the line down to my ruck. It's all waterproof and it's floating. And it was like it was like a sailboat. My parachute was a sailboat. So like, once I survived all that and everything stopped hurting, I was just riding my ruck and waiting for the Zode to come pick me up. But I don't remember a ton of like really bad undercurrents. We've done some like pretty long fins into shore. And when you get that current, like every time you pop up to see where you're at, and you're like, I don't even know where I'm going. And then you're like 45 degrees off, and you're like, oh man, like, we gotta head out that way. But what about you?
Yeah, the North Sea over in the UK, England has got in that channel has got a good undercurrent sometimes, and I remember jumping out one time and the chute caught it underwater. So the chute is inflated underwater and just pulling you, and it takes you right down. So those kind of situations, right? What's going to prepare you for that? Stress inoculation and spending a good amount of time underwater and getting your water confidence up.
Yep.
Sure sounds a lot like a pool session at Indoc or at SWICK or at ANS or pre-dive or something like that. So,
Jeez,
just an example.
Did you pop and just lose that chute?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that chute was gone.
Oh my gosh.
Gone. I mean, but it wasn't just me. Like there were several people that it happened to. It's just, planes flying over, everybody jumps kind of in a line, and we didn't lose every shoot, but we lost probably three of the seven or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. Like and when you're doing that stuff, you gotta follow the rules. Like if you're not ready to pop your leg straps when you hit the water, and something like that happens, yeah, it's gonna go bad really quick. The margin for error is it gets slim pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta be. You almost want to, kind of do the flare and pop the leg straps, 5 feet beforehand so that you kind of fall instead of waiting until you hit the water and then, okay, one's jammed,
Yeah. You probably need some experience before that because sometimes it's hard to see how far you are from the water and you don't want to pop your leg straps like 40 feet up. I don't know. That's what they say. But it's better than being dragged into the abyss by your parachute.
Oh, yeah. But, man, there's a lot of, kind of going back to the questions that you had asked a few minutes ago, there's a lot of good times, in the pipeline at all of the schools, funny times where people mess up or do something completely stupid, and now the whole team's getting smoked. Everybody's pissed at that person, but, give it a couple weeks or get out of the smoke session and you start thinking about it and you're like, oh, that was pretty funny, actually, because we're not, the whole, if you're not cheating, you're not trying kind of thing. Like, people will try and get away with some stuff, which, hey, right on, you got away with it, or sometimes you get caught, and, well, you're going to pay for it.
Right, and I think that brings up another good thing, because we kind of, personality-wise, how you react to being the person that messes up, or when people give you a hard time, and how personally you take it and how long you hang on to that stuff is going to affect your success level. Because you see it, because as soon as it's blood in the water, if you give a guy a hard time and they react to it emotionally, like you just picked out your nickname for the rest of your career, and and people are never going to let it go. People don't forget. So that's another, I think, psychological part of being on team or going through the pipeline and all that other stuff. And you have to learn how to get over stuff and just accept responsibility when you mess up, and accept the hard time. And then it's a good time. Then you're part of the team and it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, you can also just embrace it and act like it doesn't bother you when they give you the name Peaches, and then it just kind of sticks with you for forever.
Was that your first choice? You didn't?
Well, I wasn't searching for a nickname, but it's a lot easier to yell Peaches than Petrus, and it seems a little bit demeaning for a dude to have that kind of name. So, and then when you just go, yeah, okay, cool, and then everybody starts calling you Peaches, and you show that it doesn't bother you, like, there you go.
Yeah, then it just is what it is.
It is what it is. I can't introduce yourself to people like that, and then they're like, okay, what's up with this dude? I have gotten some people in trouble before, though, because people will save my number in their phone as Peaches, and then, hey, they get a text from me, and then all of a sudden, Peaches pops up as a display without a picture, just the name Peaches, after a trip or something like that, and then people think like, or their wives or something like that, go, hey, who's this?
Yeah.
It happens.
She sounds awful.
Yeah. Well, she sounds hideous.
Yeah. She's a dude, so.
So, yeah.
That's funny. I can't remember how many times, I'd say a student's name wrong. It was sometimes on purpose and sometimes not, and they'd correct me and be like, no, this is your name now. And this, I said your name
never
right.
Correct somebody.
Yeah. If it was me, right, and if I was doing it to myself, and I'd be like Siege Miller, and if Airman Seg Miller was like Seg Miller, it's like no, and then you're never gonna get past that. It's your Siege from now on, and it's just how it goes.
Yeah.
But
what's that?
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that there is a difference, and of course Maggie's. What do you want? You gotta love a German Shepherd. They're so vocal.
She's got a story.
Yeah. She's wanting to know why her owner, me, is not running her as much as I normally do. That's what she wants to know.
Oh, man. Why? Is it just lots of rain or just one of those things?
Yeah, lots of rain, and she gets muddy and stuff like that, and I'm not trying to bring back a muddy dog.
No.
It's not Florida up here where I could just go out running and, yeah. Anyway, love the Pacific Northwest. It's great. It's beautiful. But
it's the best.
It's rainy right now. Yeah, so I forget where I was going with that. I was going to ask something. Oh, yeah, instructors in the pipeline. Like, the cadre that folks are going to meet are professional, right? That doesn't mean that occasionally there is not some things that are said that are passionate or unprofessional, and you're questioning why you're doing something, right? Everything, especially within AETC, has a purpose. Again, why are we buddy breathing? Why are we doing grass and gorilla drills? Why am I doing underwaters? What does ditching on have to do with anything operational? But everything has a purpose, even if it's just to stress inoculate you or keep you on your toes. Like, well, this instructor told me to do this, and now this instructor is telling me to do this, which counteracts that. Well, maybe that's just to see how you act.
Yeah. Or maybe the instructors are not communicating very well.
Yeah, there's that too.
And just follow your latest orders, or and do what you do, or bring it up. Your team leader should have they're in the position where they can bring it up and be like, hey, Sergeant so and so said this, which is one of those like things where if a strong stow or crow really helps a team out. But yeah, or sometimes it's just let's see what you go with and let it ride.
So, I know we've talked about characteristics before, but like off the top of your head, and I know I'm kind of just randomly asking you this, but what are some instances that you've seen stows, crows, or even cross training like NCOs kind of jump in on like situations and kind of course correct something or do something really funny, just in any kind of stow crow cross training story, because I'm sure there's some really good ones.
I'm trying to think. I'll say first of all, if you're coming in as a stow or a crow, expectations for you are much higher. So there's that. We had for the most part the stows and crows are really good. I remember we gave I actually think he's still in, but we gave a certain stow candidate way back in the day a really hard time about having his teeth were too white. And so we'd always tell him a sniper was going to get him. But there were a couple really like older stows that came through when I was at Keesler that we gave a hard time to. But those two guys in particular weren't the strongest guys on team, but they were fantastic leaders and good people. And so like they had the ability to, when the cadre would say something, they could be like, "Hey, Sergeant, but like this is what we're supposed to be doing," or you can start that negotiation with the sergeants and have that strong leadership on team. And it's funny, you make deals with them and do a few different things or challenges. But as long as they're willing to put themselves out there for the team and they're a good person and they're a performer, at the very least a performer, then they can carry the team and have those jokes with the cadre and lighten things up a little bit, and then also hold the team accountable when the cadre is not around to make sure everybody's doing the right thing. So having a strong, almost charismatic stow, or it depends, right? Because there's you can get by a few different ways. You can be a leader that's just a monster physically, right? And that always brings a certain amount of level of respect. And then there's the guys that, like I said, these other two guys were probably a little bit older than your average. I think they were captains at the time that they came through, but they were just good leaders, And as an enlisted cadre member, I still recognize their rank. There's a certain time and a place to tell them what to do and give instructions. But when they come in the office, it's always sir. Hey, this is what's going on. It's an open conversation, but it's not like we don't respect the officer enlisted relationship at that point. So yeah, you have some fun times, and they have a little more leeway to take care of the team than say the retrainees. Retrainees have a certain amount of leeway, right? You come in as an NCO, that comes with a certain amount of respect for your experience. And then, they can do the same thing to a certain point. I don't want to tell us a very specific funny story, but most of the stories I went towards were the people that we didn't like, and I don't really want to bring those up.
Don't want to air that dirty laundry up. But you're right, though. Like, as a stow crow or cross-training, NCO, you are held at a different standard. You just are. You've got more education, more experience, and hey, man, you got to be able to lead these men and women right out of basic training, right out of high school. A lot of them, and they're looking to you for direction, and you're gonna have to lead them. You brought up the challenges. I used to love the challenges. Like, you have the bets, so hey, you're gonna bet 108 counts or something like that for something stupid. I mean, it could be out on a basketball court. It could be freaking, hey, I'm gonna 100 burpees or 108 counts, whether I make this or not. And then somebody's like, oh, okay, all right, I want some of that bet. And it's like, okay, your whole team agrees to this? Okay, yeah, all right. And then he's probably been out there draining threes all day long. And just, all right, well, just chalk that one up. That one's on you guys. You guys can't leave here until you finish that. Or it's hey, we're up on the pad and there's a track down there, and hey, you have 1:30 to get back up here. If everybody can get up here in 1:30, we're done for the day. If not, we will do this, and we will do this, and this, and this. And it's like, all right, let's huddle around. Is everybody even physically able to make it because it's not like doing around the track in 1:30. It's, you're up on the pad, you got to make it down, run around track, then make it back up to the pad in 1:30. Okay, everybody's somewhat fresh right now. All right, just, if we can do this one time.
Yep.
And of course, there's somebody that misses it by 2 seconds or something like that. And so, all right, we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. He can get it this time. And now people are going to be pushing up. But if you make it, though, you are done for the day. You make that deal and that challenge and you win, like, you really are done for the day or whatever, they honor it.
Yep.
The instructors honor it. But most of the time, it's few and far between that you're actually going to win that bet.
Well, I mean, but it kind of rolls into the cone science thing and the teamwork and all that other stuff, because I know at the old selection course, we had a thing where you were running 400s as a team, and it was, I think, 1:30 per lap for, it could either be 6 laps or 12 laps. And if you hit all 6 laps as a team at 1:30, and I think a 45-second break in between laps, then that's it, 6 and you're done. And if not, then you're going to keep going. And that's one of those things where you learn, either you put out as a team and you get the 6 out of the way, because you're going to get 6 no matter what, and then you're going to do some extras. Or just stay out there in the heat in San Antonio running laps until you get it done. And it's amazing because, you have those guys that mess themselves up in the head, and what are they thinking about? They're thinking about me. I can't do this. I can't run another 1:30 with only 45-second break or whatever lap. And once they get past that and they realize that the whole team is suffering, and then magically they're able to do it, that's something that you're proving, you're helping the students prove to themselves that they can do it, and the team is more important than the individual in that environment. So, it has a purpose. It
does a lot for the mental game. So it shows sacrifice, it shows mental toughness, it shows like exactly what you said. Oh, wow, I didn't think I could actually do it. And I did. Well, plus you're also with the physicality part of it, you're in fact getting better. So those are the things that people will go, why the hell are we doing this? This is just BS. Like, we shouldn't be doing this. We should be doing something else. But man, you're getting better all around. It's not doing anything negative for you.
No, it's all pretty positive as far as I can tell. And it also, as you go throughout all the events, you as a team, you start to see who's who, and your strengths and weaknesses. So like in the old combat control SWCC pipeline, by the time you made it to the apprentice course, the team leader, whoever your team as a whole, even if you'd like been broken up and put back together a few times as a team, everybody knows each other and all their strengths and weaknesses. So like it's a lot easier for the leadership on the team to figure out who's doing what, where they're going to have to step in and help to get everybody through. And it's just one of those things. I wasn't really going over that.
I remember a demoralizing. Oh, it was funny, but demoralizing as well. This is at Indoc. I don't know. There's 15 of us left or something like that, and we're doing interval sprints out on the track. And the commandant, he was a captain. He came down there in PT gear, but he was just came down from the office, and he's like, I tell you what, if anybody can beat me on these, you guys are done. And everybody's like, oh, okay. We hadn't seen him run. I mean, he's, it's not like he's out there training with us. He was the commandant. And then he takes his shoes off and he goes barefoot. And he's like, I'm going to run like this barefoot too. And everybody's like, yeah, we definitely want that bet. Yeah, and even I'm like, yeah, okay, dude. Barefoot. That dude not only beat us, but he was quite a distance ahead of us, just doing a 400. It's like, well, okay, we're going to be out here for a while now. Yeah. Barefoot. Like,
the commandant needs to have his fun. He's stuck in that office. He wants to go out there and, A, he wants to see if he can do it, and B, he wants to show the students. Yeah. It was nuts. I think that's a thing about our community, though, is the officers go through the same or more suck than the enlisted guys, which I think is maybe the only place in the Air Force where that happens, other than like air crews where pilots go through flight school, which is apparently hard. I don't know. I hear bad things, hard things, but you know what I mean. Like the officers, you respect them for the not only the shared experience, but they also had another selection on top of that, and the standards that they were held to were higher. So it's not like you're walking in the office to talk to the boss and he's just some random officer that made it through school that didn't do the same stuff. So I always thought that was a really positive thing. Like when we did the integration, when the SWCC came over to the 2 series units, I was actually pretty excited about that.
Yeah, we have some phenomenal officers. We really do. I mean, I could go all day and talk about each one of them, but it's a different mindset. And I don't say it disparagingly of the other officer corps, whether it's pilots, maintenance, whatever, but it's just like our Stows and Crows are leading people in unusual situations, where there are people doing extraordinary things is kind of the best way I can put it. Just, pulling it out of my butt right now. I just like there's been some and some of those officers have also not just, led people, but have also done some incredible things. I mean, we have several Stows that have, Purple Hearts, Bronze Stars with Valor. Barry Crawford's got a Air Force Cross kind of thing as a Stow. I mean, so there's people out there that have done some incredible things and continue to do some incredible things.
Well, I think as soft enablers, we breed a certain level of individualism that's maybe a little bit different than some of our counterparts, and so to lead a whole group of individuals that have had their souls crushed and are some hard dudes. It takes a certain type of person, like if you brought in a random person and you go in there and, you read a leadership book and you start telling people what to do. Or it's not the kind of community where people just listen to you just because of whatever rank or going back to rank, right? Your rank or whatever that you have on your chest. Like credibility is that's that's what you need. That's what you need to lead people. You have to have it.
Yep. And you're going to make mistakes. It's hard. It's not easy. It is hard.
I wouldn't want to lead us. It's got to be awful.
Oh man, it does. It's well, why? I mean, what would you really want to work with people that capitulate and just like roll over and like, oh, okay, well, that's what it is? No.
I
I expect a certain amount of pushback, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm messed up. Tell me that, but you better tell me the right way then.
Right.
If that's the case. Because at some point me or the Stowe or Crow, or whoever it is, whoever's in charge is making a decision. And some people want it to be, they want 100% of the information. Some people want half of the information. I'm like an 80% person. I want 80% of the info, and I'm good at 80%. Like, we'll just go. I may make the wrong decision, but at least we're going in a direction instead of hesitation and kind of like, I don't know, because that's bad too. That's really bad.
Yeah.
Hesitation.
Yeah. I think that you brought up something good though. Like it is a community where people want to know why. It's not, hey guys, we're going to do this, and everybody's just like, oh, hoo-yah, sir, we're going to go do this. It's like, hey, why are we doing that? And if you have like a reason, like I find myself in the pipeline even with the students. I think based on my experience, I explain to them probably ad nauseum, and even when they don't want it, the whys of everything that we're doing. If they're getting smoked, the whys and how it applies and all that other stuff. Because that's the kind of person I am. I want the why, but I also want the challenge. So like our leaders, I think, are the same type of people. They want the challenge of leading these people, and and you got to tell them why, at least to a certain extent, right? And actually, it's funny because we were doing some stuff for the SKT the other day. We were testing some material, and it's just interesting to see like some of the stuff that they were leaning towards. It was like some of the leadership questions or whatever, and that we came up with this thing where like in certain situations you can ask questions or you can push back, right? And during mission planning, there's no rank. Everybody says what they think, but like on the X, unless it's going to cost someone their life or mission failure, you just do what you're told. And then the hot wash. Once again, like there's not really any rank and everybody just says what they want. And so as we went through some of this stuff and seeing how the Air Force, crafted some of these things, we explained to the guys like, hey, like this may sound silly, but in this situation, if you're already performing a task, like that's not the time where I'm expecting an airman to be like, hey, there's a better way to do this. It's like, because in our community, we already pre-briefed it and you had your opportunity to say something. And once we're doing the task, like just get the task done and then we can talk about it later. But anyway, that's kind of a rambling.
No, but that was good though. I mean, that's everybody needs buy-in, like especially, and I know it's different when you start talking about like maintainers because they have to follow technical orders. They have to follow certain things because the avionics or whatever it is in the aircraft, it has procedures to make sure that it works so that when somebody's flying it or something like that, something doesn't go wrong. That's different than what we're talking about. We're talking about there's an objective. 1,000 different ways to attack this objective. And everybody has a piece of that and everybody's input matters. There's no, okay, so I could have input because, hey, I've seen this for X amount of years, looking at this problem set. This is what I think. But also that senior airman that's 6 months out of the pipeline knows something that I don't. He 100% knows something that I don't. And he can provide a different perspective to that problem set that I didn't even know existed. And so I'm like, oh, well, okay, well, we may not go completely that direction, but let's take a portion of that and bring it in. And we've got somebody that's doing the route. We've got somebody that's doing the risk management part of it. We got somebody that's doing the joint terminal attack control, building the air picture around it. So everybody's got a piece. Everybody's got buy-in. And so that if something's messed up or something doesn't look right, like it is on every single person in there to say something, like, because everybody's at risk in there.
Yep.
That's why everybody has buy-in.
Well, and I think if you're a new guy on team, you need to speak up and share what you think would work based on your pipeline experience, what you've been taught. And if it's the wrong way to do it, like these guys, like you have 20 plus years experience, right? You're not going to know, you're not going to get the history of how many times that hasn't worked or has worked or why it doesn't work unless you present it as an option, unless you like have those conversations. Don't just sit there and let the experienced guys go over everything because you're not going to learn anything if you don't have those conversations. So like it's an opportunity either for the older guys to be like, bro, I never thought about it that way. Or to be like, hey man, we tried that way back in the day and this is why it failed. So maybe take, like you said, pieces of it might be like a good idea. Or, you know, at least now that senior airman will know like, oh, hey, this has already been tried and it was a colossal failure. And now I see why. And you know, then they can just put that away and move forward and find other solutions.
But you're right that you got to say why. You can't just go, well, this is the way we've always done it.
No.
I hate that answer.
Oh.
This is the way we've always done it is awful. You need to go, hey, we've done it that way. It doesn't work. Here's why, or here's why we do it the way that we do it, and then go from there.
Right.
Just well, that's the way we've always done it. Ugh.
I almost threw up when you said that. That was the worst.
Yeah, but it happens. Yeah, I mean, I think probably other career fields hear it a little bit more than ours. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just a fallacy on my part, but I hate that answer.
Yeah, I mean, we exist to solve problems, right? To solve complex problems, and no two missions are going to be the same. Especially a real world mission. Once you hit contact or anything like that, you need that flexibility. You need that problem solver. You need someone that feels comfortable using their freaking brain to accomplish the mission, get out of their lives. So I don't think we stymie that creativity. You know, I mean, sometimes if someone's like doing some paperwork and we tell them they're an idiot and do it this way, and I don't know how you don't know this already, and your emails are unprofessional or whatever, you know, like we might use language, but
stop talking about my emails to you.
Not your emails. I'm just sensitive. It was funny, my first time when I went from AFSOC to AATC, I remember when we were standing up the pipeline, I was emailing, a whole bunch of chiefs and all those other people, and I was a staff sergeant. I remember I sent out like this mass email to a bunch of chiefs, and I was really like laissez-faire, and like I'm just used to talking to my guys on team. And I got a chief came back at me and was like, bro, apparently you've never learned how to write emails, and this is what you need to do. It's not just you and me, because like I was pretty friendly with him, but he hammered me pretty hard about it. I've never forgot it. And now when I went back on team after ATC, and I'd see guys writing emails, I'm like, slow down. Who are you sending that to? Like, how does this email have the ability to travel? Because the way that it looks to you, and the way that you make our unit look, our squadron look, if this email travels to other places, it's gonna read different in different environments. So it was just one of my career moments that I'll never forget.
So yeah, you'll never forget it, right? I mean, I don't know, a month ago I had somebody, staff, but he's tech select, send an email to, not a whole list of chiefs, but some higher up chiefs. And he had asked me beforehand, and I was like, yeah, man, go for it. Like, just CC me on it, And because he was adamant about this, I'm like, all right, man, go for it, Now, I got some slack for allowing it to happen. Like, I got some crap from some of the guys for allowing it to happen. But I'm like, he will never forget that response that he received, from the other. And so that was a learning point. That's all it was. Speaking of which, learning point, if you're out here and you're listening and you don't know how to type, like without looking, like if you're typing like this, fix yourself. If you're in high school, take a class. If you're out of high school, take a class. They're free. Learn how to type without looking at the keyboard. It goes back to, and I'm gonna tie this up, and then you can wrap us up, Trent. But think about, if I don't have to think about typing, right? I free up bandwidth. Very much like if I'm at the most physical ready I can possibly be before the pipeline. That whole 80% mental, 20% physical in the pipeline. If I'm the most physical ready I can be, that's 20% that I don't have to worry about. Now I just need to worry about the 80%. So I free up bandwidth. Same thing with typing. It sounds silly, but listen, that's a pro tip. Learn how to type without punching keys with fingers.
But my phone just completes the words for me, so I don't have to learn how to type. I'm really good with my thumbs. I'm not. I hate texting. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I've become a terrible speller with autocorrect.
No, but that makes sense. It's yeah. So I think we talked about. I'm not sure what we talked about, but I think we covered some really important ground here today, and hopefully shared insight into the special warfare community. And I think the last few points I would make is whatever the courses are called, don't worry about it. Just trust the process, get into the process, and do the best that you know how. And the other thing that I couldn't remember the word a little bit earlier, but credibility equals currency. That's what I was trying to say earlier. And of course, as I'm speaking the sentences, my brain blanks out. It's like I'm typing and staring at the keyboard. I just lose all control over what's happening. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for coming out. Obviously, this is the first Peaches and Trent show, whatever you guys want to call this series. If it's going to be a series, let us know what you think. And we'll catch y'all next week. Remember to train hard, earn each breath, and we'll see you later. Bye.